Catching the wave. Pete Healy of Mentos heard about the geyser phenomenon after his marketing director turned in to National Public Radio, which ran a segment on it. Healy told a Wall Street Journal reporter that Mentos was tickled by the video. Although he didn't mention it, he did wonder about liability. "You hope people have common sense and won't allow their 3-year-old to stand over a bottle of exploding soda," he said. Healy called Grobe and asked if there was anything the company could do to help. "Send Mentos," Grobe replied. Healy did more than that. Although he knew there would be risks to involving Mentos in this type of new media campaign, in the end, Mentos was candy, not a cure for cancer. How much effort would people put in ridiculing it? As long as we maintained a light touch and were authentic, we figured we would probably be okay, Healy says. We knew there were parodies of the old Mentos TV ads. It didn't bother us. In fact, it showed people were engaged with the personality of the brand. When Grobe and Votes appeared on the David Letterman show at the end of June, Healy dispatched the Mentos Mobile, a Pontiac Solstice convertible wrapped in Mentos graphics, which was parked outside the theater, while street marketers in Mentos T-shirts toting 6-foot rolls of Mentos gave out candy to passers-by. At the same time, the Coca-Cola Company, slower on the uptake, didn't know what to think. A Coke spokeswoman told the Wall Street Journal, "We would hope people want to drink Diet Coke more than try experiments with it." She added that the craziness with Mentos didn't fit Diet Coke's brand personality. Michael Donnelly, the company's interactive director, admitted that Coke wasn't prepared for this. But in July, the soft drink maker relaunched Coke.com with a new focus: consumer-generated media that celebrates creativity and self-expression. Within days of starting his job at Coke, Donnelly contacted the Epi.com guys, as he called them. This led to a powwow between Coke, Mentos, Grobe, Votes, and Google, which also wanted in on the action. The companies agreed to work together to support the performers in a second Mentos Coke sprinkler video, which Grobe and Votes dubbed the Domino Effect. At the end, there was an advertisement that linked to Coke.com or Coca-Cola.com announcing a contest. For 3 months, people could submit their own videos of ordinary objects doing extraordinary things, and Grobe and Votes were the judges.
Today's book review is Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. So, I reviewed this, or I actually read this last spring. I thought I'd recorded my review, but apparently either I did or I never posted it, so I'm going back and re-recording it now. I would like to thank Amazon for introducing me to Rainbow Rowell. A couple years ago, it popped up on one of my recommendations. Hey, if you've liked so-and-so, you would like Rainbow Rowell. And I'm always a little leery of Amazon's recommendations, so I did a little research. And one of the first articles I pulled up, Rainbow Rowell's Eleanor and Park, was on John Green's reading list, recommended reading list. So I jumped on it. That was a good recommendation, I thought. So I jumped on it, and I absolutely loved it. It was a beautiful book. It was well written. It was just a gorgeous story and a great message, and it was so wonderful, and I loved it. And by the way, if you've read it, you'll understand that I don't need to know what those 3 words at the end were. The book was perfect, and it ended just right. But so I read some other stuff by Rainbow Rowell, Landline, Attachments, and those were her adult fiction books. And then she had written Fangirl, one of her another young adult book. I thought it was great. It was a story about twin sisters who go off to college, and for the first time in their lives, they are actually separated. They're living their own lives. There was this interesting side story that wove through there about how the girls were, they liked a fictional series of books about, go ahead and start drawing your Harry Potter references now, about a young wizard boy who comes from the non-magic world and goes off to wizarding school. His name was Simon Snow, and they made a lot of references to Simon Snow and the fact that the last book in this fictional series was coming out. Throughout the whole book, they keep referencing that this final book was about to come, and they couldn't wait for this final book to come out. One of the sisters wrote fan fiction about the Simon Snow character. And so throughout Fangirl, the book Fangirl, we got to see these little snippets from the series, the Simon Snow series, and different fan fiction pieces written by Cather and other people. So as I was reading about Carry On when it came out, it looked like Rainbow had gotten a lot of requests. When are you going to write Carry On? What happened to Carry On? What happened to those characters? Can you tell us more about them? So I think that kind of sparked in her the drive to write this book, Carry On. And again, you can draw your Harry Potter references here. Carry On is about Simon Snow and his roommate, Baz. The two of them are at wizarding school. And Simon Snow is the subject of a prophecy that says that he will be the greatest magician ever with unlimited power and will fight the greatest danger to the magical kingdom and bring them all together. Yes, there's a lot of Harry Potter references there. Simon Snow and Baz, their roommates, they also are they believe that they are enemies. They believe that they were bound or destined to kill each other. But there's also some tension between them sexually. So yes, there's this emotional tension between them because what they think they have to do, but there's this sexual tension too between them that you really see in Fangirl. You kind of get in Fangirl, but through the first half of Carry On, you really feel it. As I was listening to this book, I did listen to it on audiobook. I have to say that I was rather underwhelmed by the book. I had originally downloaded the audiobook, maybe got a third of the way through it, and it just wasn't grabbing me. It wasn't doing anything for me. And I fell away from it. The download expired. I don't know, a few weeks later, I knew I was back in the car. So I downloaded the audiobook again. I was determined to get through it because it was Rainbow Rowell. It was going to get better. I knew it was going to get better. I knew I wanted to see this all the way through. It just never took off. For me, it just never came together. Now, I understand that there's some, I tried really hard to separate my feelings about Rainbow and about this book. I found myself trying to convince myself that it wasn't as bad as I thought. I really enjoyed Rainbow's other works, and I just thought it was great and wonderful. Eleanor Park, beautiful. Fangirl, really good. I just kept telling myself I had unrealistic expectations for this, and because it didn't meet my expectations, I felt it was a total failure. I really tried hard not to allow that to happen, and really in the end, many artists face that. Many artists, many writers face that they've had success, they come out with something new, or they continue a work that has had a lot of acclaim. Yes, they're going to feel that pressure to be as good, if not better, than the original. And also because there was a lot of Harry Potter, parallels to this. Part of me was like, well, you're just not liking it because it's not Harry Potter, Again, I tried to be very, unbiased and tried to separate myself from that. But there's a structural issue with here that, I think caused a problem for Rainbow. The idea that, J.K. Rowling had several books. She had, thousands of pages to develop characters and storylines and backstories and relationships and really bring a really rich texture to the background on which she wrote the main plot lines. Rainbow, of course, didn't have that opportunity. This was a one-off book, so she had to force a lot of things in there, a lot of backstory and history pieces, so we understood some of that, because she only had that one. I think also if you hadn't read Fangirl, I think that some of these pieces may not have, fallen in place quite as easily. I felt the story was a little forced at times. It felt like she was really forcing the point or really trying to be overt in your face with some of the storylines. Like I said, in Fangirl, there was a very palpable sexual tension between Baz and Simon. If you don't want the spoiler alert, you should jump ahead about 15 seconds now. In Fangirl, or the first half of this book, Carry On, you really got that sense that they were going to become lovers, but it was Simon who made the first move. But you always assumed that it was going to be Baz, and I kind of felt like Rainbow kind of forced that point upon us. But again, I just felt that the story was a little pushed, maybe rushed, maybe because of that, the format that it was being put into. And the ending, I just kept waiting for it all to come together. Again, like I said, I really wanted Rainbow to really wow me. The story ends with, I don't think it's giving away anything, that Simon does defeat the Insidious Humdrum, which, by the way, is the worst name in all of fiction for a villain, the Insidious Humdrum. Simon defeats the Humdrum, but Simon doesn't realize what he has done. I mean, he knows that he won, I guess, but he doesn't realize the significance of what he done. And many of his friends and the other characters don't really step up and say or realize or recognize what he has done. And so, it kind of fell flat. That, I understood, I thought I had a pretty good sense of what he had done, but the characters really didn't see the greatness in what he had accomplished there at the end. And that was just a little hard for me to swallow. So, again, I'm glad that I read it. I can say, that I did it and that I got through it. And that there isn't going to be that lingering question in the back of my mind, well, what if it got better, or, was it going to be good? But if you're a fan of Rainbow Rowell, this probably isn't the book for you. I have to put it on my second bookshelf.